First off, thank you everyone for coming out today. I appreciate this. It's wonderful to be here in Lincoln. It's great to be in Logan County. We'll let the chimes go first here.
I do.
I like that. Start talking, the bells go off.
It's whistles too. It's bells and whistles. It's got all the bells and whistles.
This is good timing. I think we can try to speak over the whistle as we get started. Today's a very important day for our campaign. We're calling this the official launch day. And what we're doing is we're traveling across the 18th Illinois today. This is our second event of 3. We were in Eureka at 9 o'clock this morning. We're going to be in Macomb at 4 o'clock today. And we're delivering a message. And that message is, this is the greatest opportunity that the Democratic Party has had to reclaim the 18th Illinois congressional seat in years. And we don't want to squander that opportunity. We are going to do everything that we can to make sure that this is the most vigorous campaign in all 19 counties that you have seen in the modern period. One of the things that we are doing is we are willing to challenge Congressman LaHood on specific policy points. What we want to do is we want to make this a campaign that is about issues. It's not going to be a policy, it's not going to be a personality-based campaign. It's going to be based on policy issues. It's going to be based on what is in the best interest of the residents who live in the 18th Illinois. Now, one of the things that I'd like to say from the very beginning, I have no personal animosity toward Congressman LaHood. As far as I know, he's a good man. He's a decent man. And I respect his willingness to be engaged in public service. I think it's important, and it's important for all of us to recognize. My problem is the policies that Congressman LaHood represents, the policies that the Republican Party has represented for the last generation, are not policies that are in the best interests of working people, of poor people, of ordinary voters who are here in the 18th. And one of the things that we want to do is we want to challenge the congressman point by point on each of these things so that he has to defend his record, he has to defend his position. And in this quest, we will be relentless. We are willing to go toe-to-toe with the congressman, we're willing to challenge point by point, and we hope that he's willing to accept our offer to debate on many occasions. Now, one of the things that I have to share with you, we're here in Logan County, and for those of you who know a little about your state history, John Logan is one of the great heroes in the state of Illinois. At one of the most critical points in the history of this state and in the history of this nation, it's safe to say that people almost held their breath waiting to see what John Logan was going to decide to do. Because there was a time in 1861 when there was a possible secession movement in the southern part of Illinois. It was quite possible that the land of Lincoln might even split over the cause of slavery. And at that point, residents of Illinois waited to see where John Logan's allegiance would fall, to see whether he would support the Union cause or whether he would support the secessionist movement. And when Logan made his decision, Illinois remained together, remained solid, and in many respects, not only what happened here in Illinois was significant, but since Illinois remained together and solid, the Union remained strong. Now, Logan County has the possibility of being one of those locations where people will be looking in November to see if Logan is willing to make an important turn. And that important turn is, are we willing to look at a candidate in terms of the positions that are espoused? Are we willing simply to support what I call the conveyor belt of incumbency? Are we willing to see individuals vote the straight party line? I would argue that no single political party can claim that it has a monopoly on always putting forward the best candidates. No party can claim that it has a monopoly on always supporting the policy positions that are ideal for the voters in that district. If my reading of recent history is correct, I believe in this county, it's been over 50 years since a Democrat has held this seat. Over 50 years. In the county where I reside, in Woodford County, it has been exactly 100 years. It's been a century. 100 years of one party dominating this particular congressional seat. Now, there are those who might say, why bother? Why take a chance? It's a fool's errand. Why do you do it? We do this because we believe that change is in the air. This election cycle, more than any other that we have ever experienced, shows us that the conventional wisdom can be thrown out the window.
That's right.
Nothing that we think is automatically going to happen, happens. And so what I would say to Congressman LaHood, there's a famous line that comes from Satchel Paige, famous baseball player, when he made the comment, don't look back because something might be catching up on you. This campaign is all of 2 weeks old at this point. But this campaign is going to be one of the most vigorous campaigns that you've seen run in the history of the 18th Illinois. We will compete in every single county of the 19 counties. We will not let any county go unvisited. We will be there. We will be sharing our message. And the message that we share is one that our government, the government that many people might say is broken, this legislative system that has been dominated by gridlock for much of the last decade. This system may be broken at the moment, but it still can be repaired. And the way that it can be repaired is by electing individuals, and I would say this, elect individuals of both parties who have a willingness to work together, who have a willingness to believe that bipartisanship is indeed possible. Now, what we have seen is a partisan divide that has occurred in the last decade. We've seen the right become more and more conservative. We've seen the left moving more and more to the liberal progressive side. And we've gotten to a point where the idea of compromise is almost perceived as a dirty word.
Right.
I believe in a type of politics that is the art of the possible. I believe that there's a way that people of good faith can come together and find common cause. This is what the founders intended. The founders did not intend for our society to be one that would be dominated by big money and special interests and people who were career politicians. Now, personally, I believe in the notion of term limits. I don't want to be doing this when I'm in my 70s. If I am, please stop me. Something would be wrong. I believe that there is wisdom in the collective knowledge of the people, the collective memory of the people, the passion and the desire to move forward. And one of the things that we're going to do in this campaign is we're going to listen to what the voters of this district have to share. I had an opportunity just a few weeks ago when I received the nomination. We were just down the road in Mason City. And within 20 minutes after receiving the nomination, I had the first opportunity to give a public speech. It was an impromptu speech. And by the way, they hadn't told me about this. I didn't know it was going to happen. But I had an opportunity to share some of my initial thoughts with the folks who were there in Mason City. And after that talk, something really amazing happened. I started talking to individuals who were there, the business establishment where we were gathered. And one by one, people started sharing stories with me. They started sharing stories and concerns, real life concerns. I talked to a union truck driver who was 30 years into his career, and he's worried about what's going to happen to his pension. And you could tell in this gentleman's voice that his concern was real, there was a passion that was there, it was a genuine worry, and suddenly he believed that there was a candidate who could be his champion. A candidate who could argue his positions and bring them forward. A few minutes later, I had a conversation with someone who was a career school teacher, been a teacher and coach for over 20 years. And this fellow was telling me his concerns about how public education is changing in America. How within his lifetime, he's seen a transformation, not for the good, but for the bad. And we need to do something to remedy the issues, the concerns that are arising in public education today. These are real concerns that real citizens have. I spoke to grandparents who told me that they're worried because they know that when their grandkids finish high school or when they finish college, they're probably moving on. They're moving on from small towns where they don't see real opportunity. They're moving on because small towns in the 18th don't seem to be giving them the kind of future that they're aspiring to. I believe that we can change that. We can change that by focusing on programs that will create jobs. We can focus on using assets that we already have within the district, leveraging those assets to find ways that we can provide education and training for those individuals who need it so that they can continue to compete in a new and changing economy. We need to do that by making sure that we support infrastructure improvements and developments, because this is jobs creation, but it's also forward thinking. We need to be looking not only for what is going to be in our best interest in the next 2 years, the next 4 years, but what is going to be in the best interest of the next generation. Government does not have all of the answers to these things, but government officials working together, working across the aisle, can find common solutions that can make our lives better.
Right.
And I also believe that there is a collective wisdom that exists among the people. Politicians don't have all the answers. The answers are going to be found on America's main streets. They're going to be found in communities large and small across this country, where people of goodwill come together, share their ideas, are willing to engage. One of the things that I hope that we can bring forward in this campaign is the message that being a centrist Democrat, representing a cause that is indeed a moderate cause, one that tries to bring together Republicans, Independents, and Democrats to work together for common cause. This is the way that we move forward. This, my friends, is the rise of the middle. You are going to see the rise of the middle in this election and those beyond. This is going to be the election where we see that the tide is indeed turning. This is going to be, for Woodford County, a new century. For Logan County, after 50 years, a transformation. We have an opportunity where we can make things better. Now, I hope that in the course of this campaign, we get every possible opportunity to debate the congressman. Because I believe that in defending his positions, what he's going to realize is that the photo op and the 30-second soundbite won't cut it anymore. Maybe that was the politics of the past era. That's not 2016 politics. That's not the way it's going to work this time, and that's not the way it's going to work from here on out.
Right.
There's new rules that we're going to operate by. You've got to stand for what you believe. You've got to share your views. You've got to have a passion. You've got to have a fire in the gut, and you've got to represent something. And representing the same old way, representing the good old boy system, representing the idea of a political dynasty in the making, representing a war chest of 1 million. You know, he'll probably outspend us by 3 to 1, but that won't stop us. We're going to keep campaigning. We're going to work hard. We know that it's an uphill battle, but it's a battle that's worth fighting. Since I've announced my candidacy, several people have asked me one very common question, and that is, why in the world do you want to get into politics? What are you thinking? Why do you want to do this? And for me, the answer is simple. I look at what I see happening in the country today, and I'm not satisfied. I see tremendous polarization. That's not the way that politics used to operate earlier in my lifetime. I see politics today where the image has become much more than the substance. I see politics today that is alienating so many people, turning off so many people, and I'm so thrilled to see that there are young people who are excited about the political system. This is very refreshing, so thank you for being here. Every single generation in this country has had an important moral obligation, and that is to take the society that they inherited, to do everything that they could to make it better, and to bequeath that society on to the next generation. I don't want my generation to be the generation that failed in this effort. I firmly believe that each and every one of us at one point in our lives will come to a moment where we have to stand in judgment, both for the things that we did in our lifetime and for those times that we failed to act. And to me, this point is so critical in our country's history that to fail to act at this time is simply surrendering to the politics of those who would say that the system is broken and irreparable. It would be surrendering to the cynicism of those who would say that only big money and the political class can govern effectively. We're going to bring a new message. And that message is very much a grassroots message. It's going to come from the heartland. Today we're crossing the 18th Illinois. We're crossing the paths that Abe Lincoln traveled when he traveled the 8th Circuit as a lawyer. Today we're crossing paths that freedmen and freed women made when they came through this area traveling across the Underground Railroad, seeking freedom, seeking opportunity in a place that was hopeful. Today we're traveling through small towns where about a century ago women were organizing a suffragette movement, campaigning for equal rights for women. And Illinois, I can proudly say, was the first state east of the Mississippi that granted women the right to vote. But keep in mind, even a century removed from that, we're still looking at a society today where economic inequality persists. There's much that still needs to be remedied. We're traveling across a district today that was settled by immigrant families, farm families, laborers, people who believed they could come to this country and make a new life for themselves, a life that was better, and a life that was going to be determined by how much effort they put into the making of the society that they were joining. We're crossing country today that was settled by coal miners, where people struggled, some fought, some died, to win the 8-hour day, to win the right of collective bargaining. We're crossing a district today that has a tremendous history to it. And I hope that the message that we're bringing is a new piece of that history. That change is coming in the 18th Illinois. The politics of the old will no longer suffice. The middle is rising. This is our century. We have an opportunity to change things. I ask you to join with us in this campaign. We know that it's going to be a tough fight, but I believe that with your support, with your prayers, with your guidance, with your best wishes, we can move forward, present a vigorous campaign, one that we can all be proud of come November.
All right.
Thank you again for coming out today. Appreciate you being here. And for those of you who are with the media, we will stick around a little bit and we'll do some questions and answers with media. Thank you again.